Peak Wealth Management proudly presents Finding True Wealth with Nick Hopwood, where we believe by providing education and guidance, we help our clients make sound financial decisions, which ultimately puts them on a path towards their definition of true wealth. Now, here is your certified financial planner professional and founder of Peak Wealth Management, Nick Hopwood.
Hey everyone, it's Nick Hopwood, and I'm here with Jim Pilat.
Hello.
Jim, are you excited?
I am very excited, yeah.
Talking about Suze Orman today?
That's good stuff.
Is she your favorite or what?
She's on the list, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple months ago, Suze was featured on a MarketWatch website with a headline article that said, "These numbers show Suze Orman is right about needing $5 million to retire." Now, this headline is clickbait for sure, right?
Oh yeah, it grabs your attention quick.
Yeah, and I clicked it, believe me. I was like, what? What did Suze say this time? So I clicked it immediately, and what I found out is that she was on a podcast getting interviewed, and they were talking about the quote-unquote FIRE community, which stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. She was talking about this FIRE crowd and said, well, if you're going to try and gain financial independence and retire early, you better have $5 million. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I kind of think that she's probably right based on the numbers that we've done. But MarketWatch puts up the headline making you think that, you know, if I'm 65, I need $5 million. And so I kind of thought the headline was misleading.
Yeah, sent a panic through all the retirees, or near soon-to-be retirees.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of clients, and they, you know, not all of them have $5 million,
no,
right?
Right.
So, you know, they're retired, and I've witnessed 20 years of them being retired just fine.
Yeah, very successful retirements.
Absolutely. So the headline's really misleading, but I think Suze is probably onto something here. So we decided that we want to break it down. So the FIRE person, remember, financial independence, retire early. The first thing that I think about is the cost of living. Right?
Yeah.
It's like when someone comes in, it's like one of the most important data points. What do you need to live on during retirement?
Oh yeah, it's without question the biggest variable.
And it's without question the one thing they don't know.
Yeah.
That's why we have episode 13 and episode 55. We have 2 episodes dedicated to understanding what your cost of living is. So we start there, okay? And let's see here. Looking at my notes here, we want to understand what their cost of living is each year. And if you're hearing construction noise in the background, our studio is not in a studio.
No.
And we are under construction
Still
right now.
Work in progress. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully, when you come see the office shortly, it'll look great. So, all right. So I want to go through some examples, like if you're 40 or 50, and if you had a certain income need, like $100,000 cost of living or $200,000 cost of living. And the reason why I thought we want to show both is because if you're like 40 and you have millions of dollars, you've probably been killing it, mm-hmm. right? Because you've been a high earner and saving a lot and investing a lot. And so you're probably, most of these guys have a substantial cost of living. So $200,000 is on the upper end of that.
Yeah, they're getting more comfortable with a higher end lifestyle at that point.
That's right. And, you know, the human nature is that when you earn more, you spend more.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
For sure.
All right. So let's talk about these age 40 and age 50 and 100,000 and 200,000. And the key here is after taxes. Okay. So we're going to kind of go through these scenarios. The first couple is the 40-year-old, and my example couple is going to be Nick and Jennifer Hopwood. Okay, so both of them are 40 this year, and the funny part is that I'm 40 like next week. Okay, so it's kind of timely.
It's coming quick.
Yeah. So, and we want to retire as a FIRE person, and we're going to live to 100, and I'm also going to make the bold assumption that there's no debt. Okay. Mm-hmm. Debt is really important to avoid in retirement. And if they do not have a mortgage, that it's reasonable that, if they do have a mortgage, it's part of that $100,000 target. Okay, so it's not 100 in spending plus the mortgage. So, and that's also after tax. So it would be like having a job that pays like $130,000, and then you pay taxes, and then you have $100,000 left. Mm-hmm. That's $8,300 a month. We're also going to assume that inflation is 2.5% for the next 60 years. So that $100,000 today, it goes up every single year, and it's going to be worth a lot in the future.
It's going to be, a much bigger number.
Like shockingly bigger.
Yeah.
So that spending target is $100,000. Okay, and then 2.5% inflation, and then one major issue is that $100,000 probably does not include the cost of healthcare. So put an extra $1,000 a month for healthcare for a family high deductible plan. Mm-hmm. And that will go between age 40 and 65. And then we make the bold assumption that at 65, Medicare will be there, right? To pick up that healthcare tab, or at least most of it. We assume there's no pension because this generation, if you're 40 today, it's almost a guarantee that you don't have a pension.
Yeah.
And then from Social Security, we assume that they're high earners during these working years from age 21 to 40. So they've probably been hitting the Social Security max. But it doesn't start till 62. Okay, so, and that's actually the reduced amount, right? So you're taking a 25% haircut versus 67. Right. And this is a bold assumption, folks, because we all know that in 2034, Social Security will only have 3/4 of the promised money.
Yeah.
So something's going to have to give. Okay, so we have our portfolio, which is invested, and it's going to kick out income for us each year. And if we just put in a generic return of 5%, if you need $100,000 and we want to live to age 100, we need a portfolio of $3.6 million. But that's an average return of 5%, and you never know what the order of return is going to be, called the sequence of returns risk. So we have a fancy program that we call PlymouthPeak.com, and we run a Monte Carlo simulator for 1,000 times, where we're still just earning the average of 5%, but 1 year it could be 10, the next year could be 0.
Right.
We come out with 5. Well, if you do that with 55 years, or 60 years actually, right, it can be a dramatically different result.
Right, especially if the good years are early,
yeah,
you're going to get a way different result than if the bad years are early in the retirement.
That's right. So we call that Monte Carlo, and we find out that it's only a 75% probability of success. All right, so a $4 million portfolio gives us a 75% probability for success. Getting better, right?
Yeah, closer.
But I still, I would hesitate pulling the trigger with only 75% probability. And if we have a $4.5 million portfolio, we're up to 93%. So 5 million, right, puts you right there for a 40-year-old, for 100,000, for 100% probability. Of course, there's so many variables that go in, and let's not forget that a 40-year-old might feel like they want to drop out of the workforce if they're feeling rich. Mm-hmm. They might come back to the workforce later. Obviously, they have got a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Unless they just won the lottery.
Yeah, it's true.
I think they're probably very talented.
Yeah.
So they could figure out something else later on.
Right. Even some part-time consulting work or something.
For a high hourly rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple $1,000s a month makes all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
What if they're really living high on the hog, though, and they need $200,000? Well, if the Hopgood couple is able to amass this much money, it means that they were earning a lot. So human nature, like we said, okay, they would need $9 million to generate $200,000 after tax plus inflation until age 100. And again, the Monte Carlo is only 42%.
At $9 million?
Yeah, the confidence level. Okay, so we actually, we want to be 100% confident. So that takes it up to 12 million.
Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you get 12 million by the time you're age 40? Not a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I start to wonder, well, how many 40-year-olds are really retired? I mean, is this Silicon Valley only? Like,
right.
Is this happening here?
Right.
I don't see
I
it.
don't see
you
it
know?
much, no.
You know, every once in a while, I start to think, okay, well, if this and this happens, maybe, you know,
You can
and
dream.
you're like, well, I
It's
still
fun to
need a
dream.
few million, yeah. no matter which way you cut it. So I mean, it seems to me that most people at age 40 are not going to make this choice, right? So let's think about age 50, right? That's more reasonable.
Okay.
Now, in this case, we have Jim and Emily Pilat, but it's Pilot,
Oh, yeah.
like an airplane pilot.
Completely different
Yep.
couple. Yeah.
Yep. But you guys aren't
Much
50.
much older than me as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You're not even close to 50. So let's say Jim and Emily, they, you know, they're age 50 and they need 100,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to live to 100. All the same assumptions, except for we're changing the retire date.
10 years later.
Yep. So 10 years less of retirement needs and 10 years of extra funding opportunity.
Right.
So it's only 10 years, but it's really like a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every year you're able to save more and not take money out and one less year of retirement funding.
Right.
So it's actually like a triple-edged sword, if you will.
Yeah.
So first thoughts are that, you know, they'll have 50 years of retirement instead of 60. And remember that the age 40 Hopwoods, they needed 3.6 million with the straight 5% return. Well, pilots are only going to need 2.8 in the same situation. That's that 10 years working for you.
Yeah.
You feel good about that?
This, yeah, a little more reasonable.
You ready to bounce?
No, not quite.
Not yet? Okay. And let's see. Okay. And in the Monte Carlo, the Hopwoods needed 4.5 million, whereas the older pilots in Monte Carlo, they only need 3.75. So that 10 years is worth about 750,000 in portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
If they needed 200,000, 7 million would be the number on a straight 5% return. And as we get into the Monte Carlos, pilots need 10 million, whereas the younger Hopwoods needed 12 million. So it's still 10 million.
Yeah.
And I mean, in Suze language, it's way more than this 5 million that she was talking about.
Right.
So it seems to me that, you know, maybe the headline should have said like 10 million, you know? But I will say that we always do all of our financial planning really conservative because we just don't want to toy around with it.
Yeah. Nobody wants to cut it close, right?
Yeah,
You want to be confident.
that's right. So bottom line, if you're going to retire with a $100,000 spending target and you're age 40, you're going to need 4.5 million with reasonable assumptions. And if you're 50, you need like 3.75-ish to 4 million with the same spend rate. But of course, every situation is different. This is not to be interpreted as advice or specific advice for you. It's just a simple analysis using 5% returns, 2.5% inflation, Social Security at 62, Medicare at 65, no pension, and life expectancy to age 100. Now, the real problem with this analysis is that we made a lot of broad assumptions like no kids, no debt, no other issues dragging you down. I mean, what if I need to have my kid come live in my basement?
It's happening more and more.
That's right. I could
See a lot of that.
ruin the whole thing.
Yeah.
But look, if you have the talent to amass 4 or 5 million by the time you're age 40, you could probably figure something else out if you needed to go back to work, you know.
Yeah.
And if you are a FIRE person, financial independence, retire early, and obviously you'd have over 500,000 of investable assets, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Give us a call,
Sure.
and we can put together a specific tailored plan for you and your early retirement.